Hey, what's going on, guys? FlynnMasters coming at you with another video, and today I have the task of ranking every season 16 chef from my least to favorite. And oh boy, this should be an interesting one, as this is obviously not a very likable cast, with some all-time bad chefs to boot. So let's get this video started with the worst of them all, and I believe that is Matt. And the thing for me, he was just a mix of everything bad about this team. Like, he was a part of the bullying and sexist comments, and the massive thing that puts him over the top is his disrespect to Ramsay, and not only Ramsay, but sous chef Christina and the burger chefs in general. Like, they're some of the best chefs in the world, and he has the audacity to make fun of their jobs. Just freaking awful, So like I think Kim put it, he's a little kid in a 27-year-old man's body. Just a freaking awful person. And someone who is just a bit better than Matt is Johnny, arguably the worst bully though in the history of the show. I mean, what he did to Jessica and Kim is just pathetic from a nearly 30-year-old man. Treated Wendy really bad as well. Blame others for his mistakes. Like, took no accountability whatsoever. Very over the top angry at all times. It's just so pathetic. And again, pathetic is really the only word you can say for this man. And yet he somehow isn't the worst chef this season. Just unreal. Speaking of pathetic, cheating on your fiance is pretty pathetic as well, which Angel did in front of millions of people. I mean, not only that, but he also took part in the constant yelling and screaming and bullying of the red and blue team members. So I guess the thing that puts him above Matt and Johnny is at least he was somewhat accountable and like not as, of course, not as awful as those two in general as a person and as a chef. Although, as a person, still pretty damn bad. And again, like the fact that this guy is like third from the worst this season when he would probably be for sure dead last on most seasons. Again, it's just freaking insane. Onto a somewhat controversial take here, but I really do not like Coop. Again, as y'all know by now, I hate the over-the-top chef who takes being passionate to a completely ridiculous level and just yelling and screaming. And of course, in Coop's case, breaking chairs that got him rightfully eliminated. Just pathetic behavior. And again, that's why you got eliminated. That's just awful behavior from someone who, could potentially be running your fine dining restaurant. You also have his bitch server comments, seem to get along with the assholes on his team at times. So again, I know some people have Coop in the upper half of their rankings, and obviously, view him as one of the decent members of the blue team, but I just don't see it. So that's why he ranks here at number 15. And we finish off with the awfulness of the blue team, with that being Pauly. Again, the one positive for him is that he was really good early. Well, not really good, but pretty good early on. And like I said, I was rooting for him, over Coop when it was up for those two for elimination. But yeah, his downfall was just absolutely awful. And his big problem was just his nonstop whining and blaming of others, despite his objectively awful performances. And the fact that he got 4th place out of all of it was insane. So I can totally see the argument for Pauly being below some of the other blue team members, but his first half is just enough for him to be the best of the worst. We finally have a red team member to talk about now in Gia, and this may be too high, but like I just can't justify putting anyone under those 5 blue team members. But yeah, she is pretty bad herself. But honestly, again, compared to the blue team, like her getting into that insane fight with Kim and her finger excuse, it's just not nearly as bad. And even some pretty iconic moments in the season. Not to mention that she was so bad that she was eliminated from the winning team in episode freaking 4. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, a really bad chef all around, but is still somehow here at number 13. At number 12 is arguably the least passionate chef in the history of the show, in Gennaro. Now, I will say, while he was super impassionate, I do love how he totally contrasted the race from the other blue team members, especially Johnny saying, well, I apologize for that, when Johnny was going on and on about how he was being embarrassed in front of his hero. So it's not much, but it's something. At number 11 is someone who you just felt awful for, with that being Jessica, who, like I said, was one of the main targets for the blue team bullies, to the point where she essentially quit, which was a win-win, in that she got to get away from the blue team, and it was the win for the audience, and that was an all-time iconic moment, as she was the first and likely will always remain as the only chef to get eliminated on a night where she worked tableside. But again, this is mostly a mercy ranking. On to the top 10, and at number 10 is the first boot in Pat. And I've said this before, but I do think he is the best first boot in Hell's Kitchen history, as he made one mistake all episode and was simply outcasted by the blue team for his age and weight. But hey, similar to Jessica, at least he got out when he did, I guess. And now on to one of the more forgettable boots of the season in Aziza. But that's obviously not a bad thing, as she was out of the drama and had a pretty fun and upbeat personality with some pretty fun confessionals. So yeah, not much, but it just goes to show how bad the season is that someone this forgettable is in the top half of my list. Even if she is really damn cool. At number 8 is Aaron, of course, a pretty talented chef with a lot of potential, especially at 22 years old, but was again outcast by the blue team for his age and was literally eliminated on a night where he did nothing wrong. seemed like a super sweet and genuine kid who could have done damn well most seasons, but bless his soul, he was stuck on the blue team this season and was taken out far too soon. At number 7 is Wendy, and I wasn't big on Wendy or anything, but I did love her attitude and determination despite also having the deal with all the BS on the blue team when she got swapped. Would have been so interested to see how she could have done had she stayed on the red team. Again, though, another person you can't help but root for given her situation, and had a pretty good run despite it obviously being rocky, which is why overall I think 7 is a good spot for her. At number 6 is someone who I know a lot of people don't like, but I don't mind her personally, with that being Heather. And while I don't mind her, I also don't love her anyway this season. Just kind of feel indifferent about Heather. But I guess I always felt bad how for some reason people blame her as well for the showmance with Andrew, even though like she obviously didn't know about the fiance, or even if she did, like, you know, that's like 99.9% Andrew's fault. You know, of course, she had a really good run this season, despite, you know, objectively being a mediocre runner-up. But nonetheless, it is mostly her talent that lands her just outside the top 5 here at number 6. On to the top 5, and spoiler, these next 2 spots are very similar to Heather in that I don't feel much of anything for them, but they weren't nasty chefs in any way, and great chefs overall, talent-wise, with Heidi coming in here at number 5. And one could argue she did even better than Heather and is one of the best final boots in Hell's Kitchen history. Again, just your typical good chef who does what she has to do, which I respect in general, and especially on a season like this, that makes Heidi stand out. And at number 4 is the winner of the season in Ryan. And while a somewhat forgettable winner as a whole, you still felt a bit connected to Ryan with her quiet mouse storyline, only to turn into a strong leader, which was cool to see play out. Obviously, she didn't back down from all of Polly's BS when she got switched to the blue team, and in general, was a damn good winner. You know, a nice story of a sweet girl archetype that was able to represent this awful season, you know, to at least give us a great winner. At number 3 is a lot of people's favorite chef this season, and that is Kim. And yeah, you can't help but root for this underdog, as she seemed like a for sure early boot on the very talented red team early on, only to scratch and claw her way to a black jacket, with her getting a black jacket over Andrew being one of my all-time favorite moments and one of the most satisfying moments in the show's history. She didn't quite click for me all the way, though. Just didn't have that rootable personality for me. It was more so the great storyline and her natural underdog status that made me want to root for her. You know, because she obviously had a mouth and could be confrontational at times, which, to be fair, again, made for fun TV, but just, again, not quite enough for me to be in the top 2 spots. At number 2 is a chef who somehow, someway made a deep run this season, despite everything being against him, with that being Devin. And again, Devin, like Pat and Aaron, and even Wendy, was outcasted by the blue team, literally getting put up for such BS reasons. Yet despite that, he never got nasty himself, and fought hard, and damn near earned a black jacket. Like, such mad respect for Devin. Not only that, but he was a funny dude as well, and is truly one of, if not the only saving grace male this season, especially since Aaron and Pat left so soon. But my favorite chef of season 16 is Shayna, and pretty much from the moment she enjoyed the hell out of her milkshake and her teammates got all mad at her about it, I had to root for her. Like, that was so funny. And she was such a breath of fresh air this season. Again, other than her fight with Kim, she mostly stood out of the trouble and just had some hilarious moments, such as the infamous, you know, get the chicken moment. And it's similar to Nedra in that she's super over the top, but in the best and funniest of ways. And that is why she is my favorite chef this season. So there you have it, guys, my ranking of every season 16 contestant. Obviously, as you could tell, this was tough, so let me know how you all would rank this cast in the comments below. And be sure to hit that subscribe and like button to support this series. And of course, be on the lookout for All Stars tomorrow. And with all that said, take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.